Game design, the single most neglected skill in game development. Seriously, what is it that you always hear teams that are formed by a developer and an artist, or a musician and a writer? Nobody ever mentioned a game designer, when in reality, the ability to create well-crafted games is essential, and I will argue the most video gaming skill of video games. How's it going, everybody? I'm AJ, the developer of A Pretty Yacht Bunny and Neko Pirate, and in today's video I wanted to talk about game design, specifically how I design levels. This is a topic that you actually picked from a poll I made the other day on my community tab. And I actually got comments like this from TechBox North, who say there are a lot of tutorials on how to make games, but we rarely see anything about game design. And I think they are right. So today, we are gonna do our bit to try to change that a little bit. By the way, this isn't an ultimate guide or anything. Game design is a big field. It includes not only level design, but environmental design, system design, content design, user interface, world building, story writing, you name it. But when you are a solo developer, you usually have to cover everything yourself. And after 15 years working in the industry, learning from talented developers, making a lot of mistakes, and also playing a lot of games with a critical mind, I put together this set of rules that work for me, and I think they are key to designing exciting and fun levels. That's what I want to share with you in today's video, so without further ado, here are my 5 rules for designing exciting levels.
Establishing the rules.
Establishing the rules means creating a set of metrics for your game. Like in real life, we live in a world that functions in a certain way. We know how gravity works, the curve of nature, even how society is organized. We understand those metrics as the rules that make the world make sense. Imagine you're walking down a path and suddenly you see a fish flying about. That would make you feel like something is broken, because fishes are supposed to do that. In order to make your game make sense and make the player get engaged with your game, you have to create similar rules for your game world. How does the character move? What powers does he have? How enemies behave? What's the environment like? Creating those rules beforehand and sticking to them during the whole design process is essential, and will help you decide what to do in order to complete the next task.
Convey emotions.
Emotions are the spice of your game. This is what we want to harvest in a certain way. Think about it this way. Why do we play games? We do it to feel a certain way. The first emotion that comes to mind when we think about video games is happiness. That's it, we want people to feel happy, to have fun. So that's not the only emotion you can harvest with your game. A horror game can be exciting, uneven. Understanding the emotions you want to convey with your game is fundamental when creating a level or a game world. Let's put these first 2 rules in an example. In my game, Cannon Blast, I started by creating a set of rules. The entire game will happen in a rectangle. There are walls that set the limits of where the player can move. If they hit the border, it's game over. The player is a ball that will be shot from a cannon in the bottom part of the screen. The player can control the ball. They can only decide when to shoot based on the position of the cannons. The goal of the level is to reach the exit. Those are my metrics. And now that I have the main elements, I have the space to play around and make things interesting. What emotion I want to convey? Mostly happiness. I want players to have fun, to laugh, but also to feel challenged and have a sense of urgency. Now that I have my metrics and know the emotions I'm after, it's time to fill this negative phase with challenges and obstacles in order to make the road to the goal more interesting. The first level has to be easy. I just want to teach players how to do it. So I start by adding a moving cannon close to the starting point. I don't want to put the exit on top, because there's a chance players will just shoot themselves straight to the goal and avoid the rest of the level. That wouldn't be fun. So I move the goal to the side. Now there's an extra challenge. Players need to make that first shoot, and then they need to time their next move to make sure they reach that solitary cannon at the top. If they fail that shoot, it's game over. It is an easy enough challenge to introduce the fundamentals of the game while keeping it interesting. You shoot, you time your shoots, you reach the exit. Easy and educational. This third level is our tutorial. Once players complete this level, they are ready for the game to start. And for level 2 and upward, we can start really having fun with our creations, complicating things more and more, with the right amount of variety to make sure our player's journey never gets boring or repetitive. Oh, but there's still one thing in that first level we haven't touched on, and that leads us to the third principle.
Communication.
Alright, communication is essential to make sure the player knows the rules of the game and how to play it. There are different ways to do that. The easy one is to use text, but text signs aren't always the best solution. As a general rule, it's always preferable to communicate with the player using the elements of the game. An arrow, visual signs, a solitary mechanic. You have to be creative when teaching the player how to play and make sure it is effective enough, because everything else depends on this. If your player doesn't understand the rules or think the game is cheating, there's a chance they might quit. So you want to be clear and effective when teaching them how to play. In my case, I use a little bit of text combined with visual signs. The first level is a tutorial, so I use this one as an onboarding to lay out the fundamentals. Other visual signs I use are for teaching the player how to play, but to help them during their adventure, like this circling thing that helps them keep track of their character, or this two that tells them where to start and where to go. Communication is a big part of designing levels, and the trick is to be as specific as possible. Never assume something is obvious, because it usually isn't. It's better to over-explain than risking your player getting lost. But remember to integrate your communication with gameplay. Never interrupt the flow of the game, otherwise experienced players may get annoyed and quit. Speaking of flow, my fourth rule of level design is one of my favorites.
Pacing.
Pacing is all about the flow. Imagine a river where the water is always flowing regardless of the terrain. It doesn't matter how many branches or corners, or how the river changes course, or how many obstacles there are in the way, water never stops moving. This is what you want to achieve with your level. You need to design a path for your player and make sure there isn't any pothole in the way. Nothing can stop an experienced player from reaching the exit in the minimum time possible. The level needs to flow like water in a river. It needs to be exciting, varied, but never stop. The way I do this is putting myself in the shoes of the player. I usually start at the beginning and imagine a path for the player. What would be fun for me if I was playing the game? If I put this element here, what could possibly make the next move exciting without breaking the immersion? Following this simple rule, I start building my path until I reach the exit. If something doesn't entirely work, better take it out. Make sure every element is pointing in the right direction, in the right angle. There isn't any obstacle preventing the player from going to the most logical path. And then respect the rules. This is where sticking to the rules is important. You already teach your player how to play. Now they have an expectation of how the game is supposed to work, and if it doesn't, it will break the immersion and make them quit. That's why the fifth rule of level design is
Respect the rules.
following these 5 simple rules will guarantee you exciting and well put together levels. When you understand the importance of setting the rules, communicating those rules to the player, and respecting them, you are on track to make exciting and well designed levels. The rest will depend on your creativity. Remember, players want to quit. They are impatient. There are thousands of games out there and they want to play them all. So make sure you give them an experience that is well crafted and convey the right emotions. And you should be fine. Maybe. So that's it for this quick look at the 5 rules I use for designing levels. If you find this info useful, please consider subscribing to the channel and leave it a like. It helps the channel grow and will tell YouTube they should show the video to more people. As always, thank you for watching and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!